Okay, according to the system, we're now live, Chair.
Thank you. So welcome to this meeting of the Winwick Parish Council on the 23rd of June. I'm going to move straight to the agenda. Item 1, apologies for absence. Are there any, Julian?
None received tonight, Chair.
Okay. Any members aware of any apologies? No? Okay, we'll move on. Item 2, Code of Conduct Declarations of Interest. I'm just going to remind members of the need to declare any interest. Anything at this point, members? Okay. Item 3 on the agenda then, the minutes of the previous meeting. Can go through these page by page. It's at page 5 on your bundle. So page 5, page 6, page 7.
Just a note, I've passed that thought process on to Pete Black and asked him to come back with some prices. And as I understand it, the issue of whether or not it's going to be a virtual hearing it's not much fluid at the moment. That Chris may know more than me. Well, the plan is that I think it will. They've announced that they do want it to be virtual, but that's something that groups are objecting to.
And Warrington Council is objecting to that as well.
Yes, that's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, and page 16. So can members agree that as a true record?
I'm happy to move them, Chair.
Thank you. So we'll move to item 4, updates on issues from previous meetings. Have you got that in front of you, members?
Yep.
Anything that of note? Anything you want to bring to our attention on that, Julian?
There's nothing specific on this occasion, Chair. No, most of the items from last time are in progress.
Okay, thank you. So we've got question time for electors on the agenda. You put your email address on this, Julian. Did you receive any questions?
There were none received, Chair, within the deadline.
No questions received. Okay. Do any members want that changed, that process, or are you happy with it? Okay, thank you.
I think we can probably handle more than 4 if 5 become available. But,
I think it'd be very unusual for me to say that we can't have any questions if somebody took the trouble to email them through.
Yeah. It's fine. I mean, I was the one that raised something about that, and I wasn't criticising Julian or Kathy or anybody. It was just around the kind of how we're seen to be kind of open and transparent if people do submit questions. To be perfectly honest, we don't get an abundance of them, so yeah, it's probably irrelevant. But
it's when something kicks off and everybody's got other things on their mind at the moment, but it's when something happens in the next 2, 3, 4 months that our ability to do that, because we've always got ward matters to raise it under, which we could do as an individual member that's concerned. So I think just on the basis this is live streaming, the commitment, because everybody's nothing to making sure that if something does crop up, they've got 4 slots they could put it on there. You know, it's just that sort of, we'd find some way of triangulating something in.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the most important parts of the meeting. Listening to what the people are trying to tell us. So any avenue of where to feed through what people in each ward want us to know is really important, and it wouldn't be something that we'd be trying to limit if there was an issue.
No.
Okay, but as it happens, we haven't got anything, so we'll move on to item 6. Any written motions, Julian?
Again, no written motions, Chair.
Item 7, police and community issues. Have any of our PCSOs sent anything through? I don't think I've got anything from the Winwick one. I don't know if you have, Anne.
No.
Still be giving Julian a wide berth.
So we've not received any reports this
We've not
time?
received anything written, no. And we
COVID.
are obviously liaising closely with the PCSOs. Neil and I have been in touch a couple of times, and there's a new PCSO, isn't there, I think, for the southern wards as well.
Yeah.
Just make sure your brake lights and your tyres have got enough tread on when you come to Winwick next time, Julie.
So correspondence, which is page 23 in your bundle, members. Is there anything that we need to discuss in that list?
We're going to take the football thing here, or is that somewhere else on the agenda? The communications we have with the football people about access to the field.
Is that something that's been before the management committee, the football thing?
No, because when we came to management committee last time, Claire was off ill, and I didn't see the email from you that was on the day in question. So I don't think that's been discussed. So I think the answer is no.
For recollection, Chair, it was discussed very briefly at the management committee, and I think the feeling was that when the government regulations and guidance is available, we'd be happy to let them carry on. Since the meeting, Councillor Gordon has submitted an email from the football team chair, basically to say that all they're interested in at the moment is training on the field, and they've produced quite a detailed risk assessment about how that will work in practice. So all they're looking for really is permission for that to start as of next weekend, if possible. I'm not an expert on football risk assessments, but it looks sensible to me, the detail of it. It's all about socially distancing. There's no intention to use the leisure centre facilities at this stage. People will arrive, change, and we'll play on the field, and then we'll go home. There's relevant guidance in terms of what happens in case of an injury. There's guidance in the risk assessment about people using water and making sure that water is properly labelled with their own name so that there's no cross-contamination issues. So it all looks relatively good to me as a sort of layman. I suppose the issue is whether the centre manager has any issues around that. Perhaps need to have a word with Paul just to see if he's got any concerns around opening up the field to that. But from my point of view,
I spoke to Paul. Paul's happy for them to be using the field. The only thing is, because I think he's had a conversation with the football team people anyway. The only thing is currently they can't use the showers until, is it the 4th of July? Because 4th of July, you're allowed to open community centres again. So then we'll be able to give them access to showers.
Are you allowed to use the showers?
Sorry?
Are you allowed to use all the facilities of the centres at that point? I understood that like communal things weren't allowed. I might be wrong.
I'd have to look at the showers. If they're barriered, then fine. If it's like it used to be in the swimming baths where it's just a bunch of shower heads on a thing, then...
Well, I think that's what it is.
Right.
It used to be.
I think that's what it's like inside the centre.
It's an open room with and it's very... it's not very big either. Well, not very big for a load of men.
I think, Chair, sorry, the issue for us then becomes we need to do a risk assessment about how people will use our showers. It's not just down to the sports club themselves.
A one in, one out basis, yeah.
I think that's the thing with opening up that we've got to start to then think about, and it may be better to discuss on the part 2, just for the informality of everything. It's everything that you then deal with from use of rooms. I'm surprised that the school haven't been on to us to ask us for using something as a spare classroom. There's that sort of thing, that everything like that needs to be just thought through. And some of it's common sense and doesn't take long at all, but some of it does take time.
Yeah, but we'll need a plan when we actually open the building. But this is about the field, so the risk assessments that the team have done, if they're satisfied.
I'm happy to propose that subjects that as the RFO chief officer and centre manager they're happy to proceed and pass that message on to them if everybody else is.
Yeah,
they have been using it anyway.
It's one of those I can always pop down and just double check that they are making sure that they're training at a decent distance from each other and whatnot, but they've got all their own insurances and everything for use of the field. So
you're happy to take a personal one-to-one basis to audit the football players?
I'm not odd. I've just go down. They won't even know I'm there. Let's face it, they don't know who I am yet.
Annie, did you want to say something?
I'm just saying they have been playing in a sort of organised way. There's been on a Wednesday. It's been roped off with flags and sticks, but I don't quite know who that was. I'll be honest. I don't know. It's our foot. Sometimes strays come on the field.
Do we charge for the training sessions, or do we just charge for matches?
Well, I think we do.
We charge them a set amount per year for the usage, so it covers the training sessions and the matches.
Just need to make sure the clock starts running on that and be reasonable, because that'll be the first
that's the thing. We charge them £3,000 a year, so it'll just be making an adjustment for any months that they've lost, really.
But in principle, we're happy with that, aren't we?
Can I just
Oh,
bugger. I don't know what's happened there.
Still with us.
Is that
Sorry.
Still with us, Anne.
Tell you, if anything...
Hello?
Hello? It just keeps the phone...
It's Graham.
It's Graham.
Oh, sorry.
This is Fernhead calling in.
Hi, Graham.
We can...
Hi there. I've been spent ages trying to log on.
Oh my goodness. Welcome. We're just talking about the football team using the recreation field.
Right, okay, I'll just help Diana log on.
No. Okay, well, let me on then. So, members, in principle, we're content for them to use the field as long as they're using the correct guidance. Yeah?
Indeed.
Agree?
Yeah, if they've done their own risk assessment, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just ask one question? Have the borough opened their fields yet to their facilities yet to football clubs?
No, I don't think they have.
I just usually we take the guidance from the borough.
Cutting edge at Winwick. We're cutting edge.
Well, cool.
Boris would be proud of us.
I'll check, Anne, but I don't think so.
No, I just wondered. I've not heard anything.
Okay, so we've dealt with that. Is there anything else on that correspondence list that we need to?
No, that was all that I saw that I thought might be worth it just noting.
One I wanted to ask about, Julian, have we heard any more about whether or not there's been any further drug use on the school car park? Is it an ongoing issue, or?
I think it's an ongoing issue. That was one of the items of correspondence with Neil Brown. I think basically he said he was just going to continue to monitor it. I've not heard anything further in terms of what's happened with that.
Okay.
No photos then? No photos this time?
No.
Oh. Hello, have you got me in now?
Is that Diana?
We've got you, Diana. We've got you.
Good evening.
At long last, yeah.
A bit like the Eurovision Song Contest where we called that via. What's the vote from the Fernhead jury?
It's just the phone. I thought we had photos last time, didn't we?
Yes.
Well, we've just got the phone going. Right. I don't know what's gone wrong. But I can hear you anyway, so.
On your menu, it'll probably say start video or join with video on a menu somewhere on your phone. Have a flip around and there'll be something that says video.
I'm not risking losing it. It's taking us 20 minutes to get on.
Okay.
So
we're on the up to item 9 now on the agenda, planning matters.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's page 25 in the bundle. There's 2 domestic planning applications. Do members want to take any issue or take a stand against any of those? Okay, we'll move on.
Chair, sorry, just before you move on, there's a 3rd application came in relation to Green Acres on Delph Lane. It's a 2-storey flat roof rear extension with 2 first-floor balconies. It's a domestic one, which again, as a parish, you don't normally comment on, but it has been received.
Okay. So item 10 then, Middleton Lane playing field. The board.
Excuse me, Chair.
Hello.
Graham Friend here. Can it be minuted that I was present during the planning discussions, but I made no comments? and I didn't take part. Can I have it minuted, please, because I'm on DMC?
Of course, no problem.
Thank you.
Right, Julian.
I've got that, Chair. Thank you. Thanks, Graham.
So item 10, just to give you the background to this one, obviously the field that we've got at the side of the leisure centre is around the boundary of that properties. And I've had quite a few emails recently from people who live in those properties around the boundary about overgrown vegetation, which is affecting their enjoyment really of the property. And I've said, I promised to raise this on their behalf today, which I'm doing. I've sent the details of the properties affected both to Claire and to Mike. And in principle, what I'm asking the council to agree is that we'll do something about this. In my, you know, do at least something to make sure that those boundaries are maintained, because it looks like it's coming from our side. There are photos. And just to put that out there to everyone, I think that we should do something, but I'd like to hear what everybody else thinks.
I agree with you, Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I take a more cautious view.
Yes, I would take.
But I'll defer to Councillor Ridden on this.
Well, Councillor has very strong views about it, but it comes up periodically every year, this. And if you get one, then you get 10. And one might be easy, but 10 will cost quite a bit of money in the long run. Now, if you're prepared to spend the money, that's fine. But actually, the gates are a concession, because you've got to be careful you're not creating rights of way over the field that people say, well, I have a right of way. And they don't really. So that's my view. I think you need to proceed with caution, because it can get very expensive, tree cutting.
When this came up as chair, I think it would be useful for whatever happens, Julian, to dig out what we sent to people last time, which was about maintaining it in a sort of, because what people really want is a lawn all the way to the back fence, managed trees and a gated access. And because from the ecology point of view, that doesn't work. So we put a nice, nice response together that explained what the parish council stance was.
Yeah.
And it all just went away until it started growing again. Having said that, I then sit in this camp that says, okay, well, let's get the costs together for it and look how the year out turns, because we can't really start trimming trees and hedges and stuff because it's bird nesting season anyway. So we're going to end up doing this September, October. We'll have a very clearer picture of what the leisure centre's position is then. It does no harm to price something up. But I'm actually with Councillor Ridden on this.
Problems that are being described are an overgrown hedge, which is on our side, so that we're responsible for that. Overgrown ivy, which sounds like it's coming from our side, we're responsible for that. Nuisance trees, which are on our side, we're responsible for those.
But those could all, sorry, Kathy, those could all be cut back by the householder, which is what you do in your own, well, I presume you do it in your own properties. If something overgrows, you cut it. That's the principle I have with the borough, because we have a lot bordering onto borough property. You know, but
to say one of them though,
entitled to
the tree, I think, isn't it, 3-year-old gentleman, isn't he?
Sorry, I missed that.
Claire, you broke up then. Could you say that again?
The gentleman with the tree overhanging is an 8-year-old, isn't he? From what I remember of the. So he may not be capable of putting down the branch.
What I fear you'll do is you'll end up spending between £100 and £200 per border.
An annual thing, isn't it?
And
at least, Mike.
That's a lot of money that we will not have.
It will not stop.
To me, whilst you're entitled to cut your neighbour's hedge and throw it over, you wouldn't have to do that with a good neighbour. They wouldn't do that to you. They would sort their own hedge out.
The problem with trees on the boundary
is and things. You should be a good neighbour, and if they're your plants, you should make sure that they're not causing a nuisance to you.
But if you've got a mature 60-foot high tree that's 8 foot from a boundary, you can't trim it straight in a line over someone's hedge. You live with the tree, you live with their trees. So for instance, on the side that's Middleton Lane, when you go and look, a lot of the trees are actually the people on Middleton Lane that's growing out onto ours, and therefore when you start looking at what's practically possible, you're going to end up with some very odd-shaped trees. And the reason they don't actually then go and do that themselves is because if they go and do it themselves, it's going to cost them 200 quid, and they then look at it and go, "Oh, I'll just put it with it." And I am sympathetic. I'm sympathetic to it.
Yeah, if we look at the problem and it turns out that the plant is on their side of the fence, it's their plant, that's clear. But if it's on our side, go on, Chris, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, at the risk of incurring either your wrath or Anne's wrath, depending on which side of this I take, I agree with you. I think at the end of the day, if it's on our land, if it's our problem, then I'm sorry, but it's for us to solve. And I think I agree with your comments about being good neighbours. It doesn't give a very good impression of the parish council if we're letting our vegetation and trees intrude upon other people's land. I wouldn't like it if it was my next door neighbour. I mean, yes, I could, cut it myself and throw it over, but I just think it's generally good manners to sort it out ourselves, frankly.
But if you've got a nice mature tree on a boundary, you can't just take a linear view that anything that overhangs my 8 foot away from the boundary, 20 foot away from the boundaries, because otherwise you lose the shape of the trees. You've just got to live with the fact that trees are an organic part of I think I'm right with you with the hedges and the things when we've got stuff that's penetrated onto people's property. That's where I'm with you. And last year we spent about 400 and something pounds, Claire, on one property at Middleton Lane. The guy is now back about the ivy, which is actually rooted on both sides of it. And
I don't think any of the new ones are about trees.
No, but the ivy was last year. Last year we didn't do the ivy because it was unclear as to where it is, and the gentleman's coming back again to have another bite at the cherry. And I think you'll find, having been chair, that I took counsel of Anne's view, and it probably saved us 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 quid. And at that point, it's a question of what you can spend that money on. And I think that's, please just then we get Julian to dig out what we said to people last time. It is seasonal, but I am very sympathetic at the same time to what Chris and the chair have said. So let's get a price and see.
Yeah, good to say, can I sorry, and I get a price. She digs out that document and get a price for what it may cost, and then we get council decision at the next meeting.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to have to be after the nesting season, isn't it?
Yeah.
But get a price. But I want a decision in principle, really, that we're going to do this.
Well, I'm not prepared to say yes, we'll do it. I think I'm more with Councillor Eden on this. You're just setting up for more and more costs unnecessarily.
Can I just say from long experience, this is what's happened time after time.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
You know what, though? If every year we don't do things and we send a letter telling people why we're not going to do it, the problem is you will get it every year.
I agree.
But things grow.
Sort it out, you will get it every year. You'll say, oh, here they are again. Well, they're going to be because you can sort it out.
We've not done anything.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't have a gate onto the field.
I'm not asking people, I'm not saying we should clear gateways or anything like that, but
let's get a price. Let's
one of those.
Yeah, I'll propose we get a price, and then once we know the price, we bring it back.
Can I suggest? Can we deal in exactitudes? So can we know? Yes, we should get a price, but I think instead of talking about, well, if it's a tree or if it's this or if it's that, let's find out exactly what it is and what needs doing, get the costs for that, and then make a decision based on that. Because we can have an argument. We can have an argument about the tree, but there might not be any trees.
But we need to do it, not just those people who complain, but for anywhere where that principles are going to be established, because that's going to then tell us how much costs we're opening ourselves up to.
Yeah.
Fine, but I think the reason they're coming back year after year is because nothing's happened the year before. And they will keep coming back. But if you just, anywhere else in the ward, if you keep trimming your hedges, you don't get people moaning about it.
Good point on that.
So that's an action then, isn't it? We'll get the prices. We'll talk to these people, ask what the problem is, and perhaps do a survey of what people are saying.
I think that's the key thing, a key thing is the survey of what's needed.
Yeah. And we'll bring that back to the next meeting and make a decision.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's the consensus, yeah.
Thank you. Is everybody all right with that? Yeah.
Chair,
Yeah.
it is a complex problem. The three complaints that the council received recently are all very different, in fact. They're all about vegetation around the border of the fields, but they vary quite considerably. One's about overgrown ivy, destroying a fence. One is about access to the field through a gate that probably shouldn't be there. And the other is about an overhanging
That is
tree.
coupled with overgrown hedges. It's coupled with overgrown hedges, that. And the same lady knows that she hasn't got a right of access, but it's just that the hedges are everywhere. And that's a nuisance at law, isn't it? Okay, let's move on. Item 11, Finance Officer's Report, Claire. Claire, try switching your camera off because you're breaking up. Just see if that helps.
Bear with me a second.
Can anyone hear that?
No,
Really?
well, I can't.
Can't hear a word.
Try leaving and rejoining, Claire. Sometimes that works.
I can see the dog's ears behind Kathy.
Which dog is it?
Little white one.
Yeah. They have to keep coming to these meetings.
Is it a West Highland White Terrier?
No, it's a white German Shepherd dog.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a big dog.
It's a big
I
big
could just see
ears.
the white- I could just see the white ears.
He's settled now. He won't be back. So Claire, if Claire's going to come back in, item 12, the annual governance statement, can we deal with that?
Yeah, it's
We'll go
very
back to
simple.
Claire.
Yeah, absolutely, Chair. Very simply, the document was circulated by email yesterday. It's part of the signing off of the final accounts, so it's a single-page document. It's effectively a tick box document, but you have to assure yourself that the council's governance arrangements are adequate for the purpose as part of the sign off of the accounts. So you need to do that first before you then sign off the financial statement from the finance officer. So tonight I'm looking for the council's approval to the annual governance statement. There are kind of 9 categories within that document, but as far as I'm concerned, we meet all those criteria. But again, members' comments on that will be welcomed.
Where is it, Julian?
Was circulated by email on Sunday evening, I think.
Yeah.
It's somewhere.
Yeah, I've got it in front of me.
Yeah.
I didn't have any comments, so I'm happy to give approval, Julian.
Yeah, I'm happy as well.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
happy.
Fine.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
It will need sort of physically signing by yourself, Chair, and me before we then submit it to the external auditors along with the other information, but we'll have to do that by post or
Yeah.
some other
All right.
carrier pigeon or something.
You can use Adobe to add an electronic signature to it.
Okay.
That might be useful
If
to
you
do.
want, if I can do it and scan it back to you, Julian, I'll do that. That's
Yeah,
easier.
that's probably a good idea, yeah.
Okay. So item 11, let's go back to the finance officer's report. Are you there, Claire?
I am, if you can hear me.
Better.
Yes, can hear now.
Go on.
Hi, Claire.
I was going to say, it's not often you can't hear me, usually over 3 fields. But yeah, so obviously I circulated the finance report, the report on the queries from Councillor Matthews' last paper, and the furlough changes. I'm not sure which ones those you want to take under part 2, though. Obviously, the finance report is this one, but
We'll certainly
I would-
furlough changes.
I would certainly suggest furlough under part 2 as
Yeah.
it relates
Right,
to staff
okay.
and staff wages.
Yep.
The questions from Councillor Matthews could be in either part of the meeting, depending on how sensitive you believe those issues are.
Because it goes to the plan for reopening, I would prefer to take questions to that paper under part 2, because it goes to the steps that we've got to have in place to make sure that our GP is protected, and whether or not we think any differences, at the public part of the meeting, perhaps to acknowledge any part of this there is sort of, because we're going to get wastage, but we know the waste has been less than ideal this year and not added up times. And I think when you see Claire's paper, you can see that in the GP on some of the lines that there's an issue there, and we need to understand how we're going to deal with that when we open back up. So I would feel more comfortable discussing that under part 2.
Yeah, okay.
That's pretty much the whole report then.
In that case, it's just the finance report, so this bit should be quick.
Go on then.
Yeah, okay, so on the finance report, it's reported we had £8.5 thousand of furlough money paid into the bank and 5.9 of expenditure on the centre items, staff wages, etc. So May is showing a false profit of 2.6k because the initial furlough payment ran from March through April and a couple of weeks into May, so that's why that was so high, and that's why the year to date is showing a 2.7k loss. Further claim for furlough pay was submitted, and that should be hitting the bank sometime this week, probably by Friday, 5.4k. Precept money was received in May, and we've had 7.3k of expenditure against the precept, largely lit picker, but obviously that and mine and Julian's salaries. There is an issue currently with that business grant. The main office passed it and passed it through to the finance department. Finance department, because it's going into Winwick Parish Council bank account, is now querying it. So I've been trying to get hold of them, but they're not answering the phone this week. So I'm going to send them an email tomorrow, but I'm going to copy you in if that's okay, Kathy. I've only got your personal email, not your borough one though. So would you rather it be your personal?
Put the borough one on. I'll send it to you.
If you send it to me, and I'll put that one in as well, just to give it a bit of extra clout, because we pay the business rates as any other hospitality, and we should be entitled to the grant as per any other hospitality. I've read through the rules and regulations, and it doesn't exclude us. So I'm just going to craft a nice little email to them and copy you in.
Okay.
I may think it's a village hall rather than a full-on bar and facility that it is, so I'm very comfortable.
Like I say, I've had it confirmed by two people in the actual office that we are actually eligible for it, and then the people that are paying it don't want to pay it, so we'll jump that hurdle now and get that sorted. Rightio, so we're going to deal with the queries paper in part 2. We've got the valuation of the expired stock from the stock take that was completed last Monday. A total of £626.81 plus VAT has been lost on draft beers, ciders. Again, it's the draft ciders, but minerals, cans of pop, mostly, and snacks. The soft drinks and the snacks, as per your suggestion, Mike, were taken to, well, some of them were taken to Asda and put in the food bank carts.
Oh, good.
And there's a hub round Sankey and Penketh, because I didn't know of one around Winwick, giving things to, out to the elderly and vulnerable, the ones that are having to self-isolate. So Winwick have done their little bit for helping the elderly within the Warrington community. I would have preferred to have been able to do it for the Winwick community, but and yeah, that's everything for this part.
Can I ask what's happened to the draft beer and the cider?
It's just basically gone out of date. It's in it's still in the barrels waiting to be collected.
The station house in Padgate have been pouring theirs down the drain and filming pouring down the drain so they can claim the tax back.
Right, okay, I will speak.
They weren't allowed to drink it, they had to destroy it and claim
Yeah.
the tax back.
What you have to do. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions for Claire?
It's difficult. Can I just say it's difficult sometimes to take this on board if we haven't got it. Well, for me anyway, because I can't refer to it on. I haven't got a computer, so I could really do with a written. While we're doing these, I could do with a written report of the. Because I've no printing facility either, and we've been self-isolated. But I could do
so
with
you
a
want to
written
copy
report.
post it out?
Sorry,
You want to copy post it out?
you will do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That what you're asking
Yes,
for? A copy post it
please.
to you.
I mean, I know it's a nuisance, but
We'll take any questions with those figures at the management committee then, because then that gives another opportunity to bring it up.
By it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just for the record, there's a separate email from Claire, just noting payments made as well. So there's a list of about 6 payments made, which also should be taken in with this report as well. It's just the usual routine payments list.
Yeah.
So what's the recommendation then, just to note that report, Julian?
Yes, Chair,
Yeah.
Members happy to do that?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's move on.
Thank you.
Are these payments this year's expenditure we're paying? We've got nothing outstanding from last year, have we, Claire?
The only one that we potentially have something, and I'm looking at, Wigan Parish flagged recently that apparently they reckon we've got something outstanding, but we hadn't paid everything as far that we had received. So I'm looking into that, but everything else I've cleared before the last full council meeting. Everything we'd received was cleared then, and these ones are actually this year's. So unless anything's come through to my old peak email.
No, that's where we realised we were being chased for things when the finances were tight. So as I say, I'm not aware of anything else that's come through.
We're up to date. PAYE, the pensions, everything's up to date as per the system. Like I say, I'm just looking into a query from Wigan Bay now to see if they've just missed a payment going in or not been able to allocate it because they didn't know which ones it was against. Seems to be the thing. You pay 3 or 4 invoices and go, oh, I didn't know which ones those were allocated against, so it's still showing as outstanding. Okay.
Yeah, just double check that the stock's arrived.
Yeah, will do. Planning to. Got been setting up calls and stuff for them to when stock arrives and what checks need to be undertaken and stuff as well. But I was going to table that at the management committee.
Excellent idea.
Yes,
Okay. We're happy to note that report then, members.
Indeed.
Yes, fine. Yeah.
Let's move
All
on.
good.
Item 13, accounting statements 1920, an exercise of public rights from the 1st of July to the 30th of July 2020. Do you want to lead on that, Julian?
It's really a question to Claire now as to whether that information will be available or whether we need to defer that until the July meeting. There's a set form, like the governance statement. There's a set form to fill in and a process for the council to actually agree that report.
We'll need to defer the agreement until the July meeting, but the document should be with you by the end of the week. So if you've got any queries on it or anything, you can come back to me before then.
All right.
And then we can just make the decision and sign off at the July one.
We're still within plenty of time. The government relaxed the regulations in terms of the dates for approving the statement of accounts, so we have plenty of time to do that. So July will be perfectly fine.
And I'm planning to notify the external accountants as well that that's when it's going to be tabled. So they should be able to get that documentation from us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Item 14, reports from Parish Council Committee's Management Committee. I've got the minutes that start at page 27 in the bundle. Mike, are there any issues that you want to draw to our attention?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing was that Claire was unwell at the committee, so was unable to speak to the paperwork that she'd put together. So people thought that now was a good time, if anything else, to talk to anything that was tabled there. The only thing that was really interesting was it's this business that we're looking at in terms of how we reopen and how having any plan is better than no plan. But the comments that members at the committee made about wanting to make sure that we are realistic about the areas that we open in, marketing into those areas, and then what the costs of those will be. I think it's right to say that members were probably slightly more cautious in that sense because of the ability to lose potentially what members thought was a lot of money very quickly than I am as chair, with the figures that Claire's got that sort of take a view of, well, what if we do 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%? So I do accept that we could open, everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, fine.
They open up and have 2 months at 25%. So that was one thing that's not been fed back to Claire, other than WhatsApp of the day after the meeting, so to speak. So it's really about those sorts of concerns about that what happens. The fundamental thing I looked at, and I think I've latched on to, is that daft as it sounds, if we just stay closed all year, we'd end up with virtually the same financial position, because the money that we wouldn't be putting in to subsidise all the work that we do, because then you wouldn't be having the football people there, you wouldn't be having the people meeting for their functions and whatever. You'd end up with the same financial situation because the government's given a period of, and the grant over the 25,000 that's coming back, and the lack of rates this year. So you could just,
the furlough payments stop in October.
Indeed, but if you stayed closed and didn't open at all, and then didn't pay people, you'd end up being a financially robust position, but you wouldn't have achieved anything from a community basis. So as long as you start from that position and work up, then I personally think it's going to be, as long as you're prudent, very difficult to lose a lot of money, but it needs to be done. So I'm a businessman, so I'm a risk taker. I'm a bit more risk taking than other members who are concerned that it needs to be done in a very planned and organised way. And so I'm sensitive to that as chair. The problem we have with that committee is that 8 times out of 10, Anne, it's me and you and the officers.
That's right. Can I just say I think Mike is a little bit too cavalier in his. I think you're very, very optimistic in what you're expecting. That's my view. I think you're very up. Now I hope I'm wrong. I really.
In that case, I take countenance of your sagely advice, and therefore that's why I've mentioned it here. We need to be more cautious.
I think we need to be very, very cautious. I think figures they're lovely if they work, and I think there's been a lot of hard work gone into them, but I think it's a bit optimistic.
And I think that in part too is what our chief officer needs to hear, because that also reflects councillors' friend and councillors' friends' views as well. So I'm in full support for looking at that. So, and I think the numbers give us a very good basis to start, but the rest of the committee is more cautious.
Righto. So we'll have a full discussion about that in part 2.
Indeed.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Anything else?
Cavalier. I've always been a roundhead.
Don't kid yourself.
Item 15 on the agenda, ward reports. Horton Green Ward. Councillor Diana Friend?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Graham?
Yeah, just I believe I sent an email into Julian. The Peel Hall report is coming up at DMC, and I got him to email around a link. It makes interesting reading for members. I think we should let Mr. Black have a look at it as well, if somebody could send it to him as well, Peter.
He's more than happy to do that, and I'm asking him to cost out. So, but that can I ask you to do
the website, so it is.
Yeah. Can I ask you to do that, Julian, formally as chair, so I don't forget?
Happy to do that, chair. Yeah.
Apart from that, nothing else, chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Matthews, have you got anything to report for Horton Green Ward?
Not for Horton Green.
Okay. Peel Hall Ward. Councillor Bode.
Yeah, just for the benefit of the minutes, Chair, I just think it's worth noting that Mike referred to it at the start of the meeting, the proposal by the Planning Inspectorate to hold the inquiry virtually. And thanks to those members that responded to my email with my suggestion that we as a parish council write formally to the inspectorate to object to that. I don't think I need to recite the arguments why it's a bad idea. They've been covered quite well in the press by the council and the Peel Hall campaign group, but I think it's right for us to add our voice to that. And thank you, Julian, for drafting that letter and sending that off. That is appreciated. And I know that the campaign group appreciates our support as well. That's really it for Peel Hall Ward. Could I just ask a question though, Chair? I noticed on the papers that there's only myself and Councillor Emery listed for Peel Hall Ward. We spoke about Councillor Gosney last time. Has he now resigned?
Sorry. I did ask him to reconsider, and he's chosen not to. So
he's not to. Oh, that's fine. That's fair enough. Yeah.
Yes, Chair. I believe it's on health grounds. He's retired.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
Winwick Ward, Councillor Ridden.
Well, no, because I've not been out, so that's as easy as that. I do get things reported to me, but of course I can't say whether they're right or they're not. So I think the fly tipping is causing a lot of problems. It's the old fly tipping, down Hermitage Green Lane, but I do think a lot of that's been cleared from what the report I've had again. But there is fly tipping down Hermitage Green Lane in the laybys. Now, whether it's on the highway or whether it's in the field, I'm not quite sure. But it's doors, it's interior doors that have been dumped. Right. They've been broken in half and there's some bags of litter. It really could do with being moved, but I don't know our responsibility in that, or the responsibility of the flat. But it is unsightly and it's been there a long time now.
It's been there over a month, hasn't it?
Oh, it's been there well over a month, yes.
So we could do it.
Picker to go and have a look at it.
Yeah. The other thing I think I'd like to suggest that the litter picker does is regularly pick up the bags of rubbish the volunteers are putting out at the litter bin that's just before you go over the M62 into what is officially my ward. There's been a lot of social activity and gatherings, shall we say, around the lake, and it's been left in a poor state sometimes. And Croft Parish Council have got my email, they've been on to me. Volunteers are picking the litter up because it's privately owned land. But if the foxes get it before someone picks it up. So I think
people do that. They need to tell me because you won't just stumble across it. If they're doing a litter pick and they tell me where it is going to be and when. I'm not aware of any of that. So
but there's 3 bags there today, and I just thought, could we just add that to I should do it myself. I'm just busy. If you're travelling south from Winwick to Peel Hall and Horton Green Ward, just before you go over the motorway, there is a Warrington Borough Council litter bin. And what volunteers are doing is putting bags of picked material, bottles, barbecues, in bags next to that bin. It could do with that being picked up. Say again?
What street is it on?
Delph Lane.
Delph Lane.
I think the assumption is that it'll be picked up by the borough. Well, of course, it's not their real response. Well, I don't know whether it is or it isn't. That's why
if we're passing on the way back to base, and I would imagine they usually are,
the litter picker does tend to pick things up if he's aware of them, but somebody just needs to tell me or the litter picker or Kathy Sefton or somebody that they've put it there.
And the other one was to report, sort of one positive thing, is that there's a very large tree taken down on Delph Lane this weekend. People may have noticed that the road was closed. Now, Tarmac, to their credit, came in under the same road closure, did all the gullies that needed resetting. But we've got 28 block gullies with no drainage through them at all. Did we get them organised? We've had people writing to us, and we've written to highways to sort it out. And did we get organised? Did we then sort of, I tell you what, we can do a dig down and get some of those working again? No. And so therefore, we end up with a situation where properties are at risk of flooding and are going to flood. And we talked about being a good neighbour, Kathy. I'm going to have to write in my capacity as living there and representing people just around here to the borough saying what the is going on. and I didn't cut out there, I just didn't speak, because I just think it's just very poor when someone else is paying to close the road, not to be able to coordinate that sort of big down activity. The tarmac did it because tarmac did the roadside of it because they're aware of that. So I just want to know where all these, I think the guy who's my next door neighbour is the Exeter Drainage at Salford. He's counted 23 blocked gullies on Southworth Lane and Delph Lane. We've written as a council.
Did tarmac do it? Sorry. Did tarmac do it as a result of borough intervention being asked to do it?
Almost certainly, yes, because they handle the road closed for the borough, don't they? So that they would be them that put the signs out.
But
and while the road was closed on Saturday.
Well, were the gullies not reported as being
blocked? The gullies have definitely been reported, because not only is the gentleman written, but we've written with a copy of his complaint to find out what's going on. Oh yeah, 6-8 weeks ago.
We have had COVID since that, yeah.
I think
to an Eden. I don't know if you know him. And nothing has happened. And when I spoke to the gentleman that were doing the setting in the tarmac, I said, "Oh, you're going to sort the gullies out?" I haven't got that on the job sheet. So it's just
look, Mike, I'll chase that up. But I would say that a lot of council staff have been deployed for what they normally do because of the COVID epidemic.
But we had a contractor out. Tarmac were actually out working on it. It just wasn't on their job sheet to do.
I'll chase that up. So thank you for that, Anne. For mine. Sorry.
What have I contributed? No, but I think
you started it.
Things need reporting
Mike,
on the minute, don't they? Really, Kathy?
Yes.
You know, because things roll on and there's a lot. Yes. The borough must be very busy.
Very, very. Yeah. So for mine, thank you for helping us get the buses back on the road. And what we're doing at the moment is trying to collect some food for Warrington Food Bank. We're collecting it and delivering it. So I just want to put that out there. If you know anybody who's got tins or anything for the food bank, the community bus is collecting them and taking them over. Very short at the moment.
Kathy,
yeah?
If the leisure does reopen, would it be prudent to tell people they could leave it there to be picked up?
Absolutely.
Yeah, is it something we should do? And
yeah,
if the leisure is actually open, it might be, you know, just another stop.
I think if people want to drop things off, then there wouldn't be in breach of any of the guidance, and we could just come and pick them up.
Yeah.
Point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we open the leisure anyway.
How sophisticated are we dealing with short?
Sorry?
I was going to say, so how quick can we distribute short date food?
At the moment, we're going around on a Monday, just picking them up from wherever we can get it and then taking it straight over there.
Okay.
I don't think they'll take anything that's out of date, but they would probably take short dated, I would suspect.
I think they do.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I was saying, even if we, when we open the centre up, we won't be able to use the small bar for people anyway, because you wouldn't be able to social distance in there for the time being. So that could be used to store it for the community bus to come and collect.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just you know, people walk the dog, they might come with a bag of food, you know, some food as well. So
yeah. So the more the better anyway, and we're taking it over there. Thank you. So I think that concludes part one of our meeting. The next meeting is on the 28th of July at 7:30 p.m. Probably still virtual, I'm guessing. So I move that we go to part two and that the live feed ends at this point.
Is that seconded by somebody?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Yeah.
Agree.